Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Mr. President. What an introduction. Welcome back. It is the Vegas Take, Sharp and Shapiro. We got Chris Wynn sitting in. Also, we got our YouTube page back. Our man Campaign is feeling good. He's healthy again, and our YouTube page is going. The Vegas Take. Check us out on YouTube. There's a million places you could listen to video, of course, on FM and AM. But glad you could join us. We'll get to more of your phone calls here in just a few minutes. But, you know, I'm one of those people, I mean, at least I can only speak for myself here. People can think what they want about me. But I don't have an ego. I've never been that guy who conducts himself like I'm the best at this, this, and this. I've never been that guy. And I admit I'm wrong all the time if I think I'm wrong, not just because somebody tells me I'm wrong. So a few months ago on the show, the president was calling this the Wuhan virus, the Chinese virus. I didn't agree with it. There were politicians out there. I even went as far as to say you can construe it as being racist because, and the reason why I felt that way a few months ago is because I don't feel like we had enough information at the time. Now, maybe I was wrong on that. Maybe, you know, politicians, maybe they had more information than I had. That's very possible. I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt on that. But I personally didn't have enough information, and I felt like it was wrong to call it the Chinese virus. Well, in the last few months, we've learned more information. In the last few months, those experts, many of them are saying not only did it originate in China, but we believe it could have originated in a biolab. Now, even those, some, not all of them, but some in the Chinese government have even said, yes, we believe it may have originated here. Now, these are the same people, many of whom in the Chinese government, that have swept this virus under the rug. And by the way, this is a fact. They kept this from us. They kept the information from us. And now we're learning that China has implemented new restrictions on academic research into the coronavirus origins, which, what does that tell you, folks? If you're an attorney or if you have any logic at all.
That is basically an admission of guilt, Brian.
Why would the Chinese government say, no, you cannot research into the origins of this virus? You know why? As JD said, it's an admission of guilt because it would put full-blown facts in front of our faces. So listen, where did this originate from? It originated in China. I don't think anybody's going to debate that at this point. Now, whether it was done on purpose or not is still something that we need to figure out. We know that the Chinese government held it, if I could just finish, held this underneath the rug for a very, very long time. And they did not give us the information that they should have given us. I don't think it's racist to call it the Chinese virus. So I went on social media and I called it the Chinese virus, and then everyone was calling me a racist over the weekend. It's amazing in our society how you get so up in arms and you call racism out because, you know, this isn't the first time that we've called the virus where it's or West Nile, Spanish flu, the list goes on and on. This is not the first time that has happened. Now, do I blame Asian Americans? Of course not. Do I blame the majority of the good people in China? Of course not. Here's who I blame. I blame those who may or may not have spread this virus on purpose out of China, and I blame those in the Chinese government, some of those despicable people in the Chinese government that hid the facts of this virus from this country and throughout the world. They have blood on their hands. Therefore, it is the Chinese virus. Now, if the excuse is there's going to be people out there that are going to see that as racist and they're going to have all these hatred towards Asian Americans, well, then those people are dopes and they're racist
all right,
and they're
Brian,
dopes.
All right. Let me, because I completely and utterly disagree with you on this point. You're asking the question as far as whether or not it's racist. Do I think it's racist to use the term? Probably not. It's not racist to use the term. But you have to ask the question, okay, A, what is the benefit of calling it that? Okay.
Can I answer that?
What's the benefit?
Everybody in this country and throughout the world needs to know where this virus came from.
They know already. We already know.
Some don't.
What are you talking about? There's two other ways you can describe it. You can call it COVID-19 or you could call it the coronavirus. You don't have to call it the Chinese virus. The reason why I have a problem with it is not because I think it's racist. It's because I think that it leads to people unexplicably being subjected to either verbal or physical attacks when they shouldn't be, because you're calling it the Chinese virus.
Can I respond to that?
The COVID.
Can I respond to
yes,
that?
you can respond to that.
Let me just quickly respond to that, and then JD, you take the floor. As far as those people, if there are people in this country,
there are. are.
Let me finish.
But there are.
Okay, let me finish. I'm going to assume
I
that
can
there are,
only
but
answer
you
your
have.
question
Okay,
for you.
but that's not a question. Let me finish my statement.
Okay.
I'm going to assume that there are people in this country where if they hear the term Chinese virus, they might attack innocent Asian Americans. And to those people that I'm talking to you right now,
Yes.
they are hateful, ignorant people, and those are the type of people that have a screw loose.
Okay.
And if not against an Asian American, they're probably going to commit assault against somebody
Well,
else.
and I'll tell you
I'm
this.
not going to watch what I say because of some of the lunatics in this country that might commit an assault if they hear Chinese virus.
And that-
That's absurd.
And that
Okay,
number is
not watch what you say.
That number's
okay? You have
probably-
an option. Okay, you guys, you have an option. You can call it COVID-19 or you can call it coronavirus.
Let JD respond.
Those, if you call it by that, right? It'll mean that way Asian people, and by the way, not just Asian Americans, Asians all over the world.
Hang on, Chris.
Well,
Let JD.
let me finish my point. Okay, there's two other ways you can describe it, and then the way that you guys say, oh, it's okay to say that. Okay, it subjects people to negative connotations. You're laughing, Brian, but you're just wrong on this. You're just wrong.
I'm laughing because you
okay?
won't let JD talk.
No,
That's why I'm laughing.
Well, I'm just trying.
I've already forgotten
Can I
my
make my
point.
though?
I've already forgotten mine.
Can I make my point? That's right, and you're wrong on this.
No.
You're absolutely wrong on this.
You're
by the way.
not.
I don't understand.
And don't blow a
Because
gasket.
You say you want it. I should be able to. I shouldn't have my words constricted because people and your only reason your only reason you pointed out is because we need to educate people that it
That's
came from
not the
China.
only reason. That's not the only
That's
reason.
what you said.
That's one of the reasons.
I asked you what.
That's not the only reason.
So that's the only.
Here's
wait,
the other reason.
No, that's the only
Here's
benefit
the other
you
reason.
pointed out.
That's
to
one.
using
That's
Chinese
one.
virus.
That's one. That's
your only benefit.
Here's another.
What's the other benefit?
Okay. Here's
What's
some,
the other benefit?
Okay. I'll answer your question. Here's something else that I think is very important.
No.
We
What's
need
the
to,
benefit of using that phrase?
you're acting like
You
JD
said
now. You're
very
not letting me
important.
answer your question.
What is the benefit?
I don't do that, Brian.
Not as
the
bad
benefit?
as Chris. I agree.
Okay, so you're telling me it's a benefit now?
No, I'm telling you that we need to hold the people responsible.
We're going to.
Oh,
Once this is all
really?
said and
What's
done,
the
we are
guarantee of
going
that?
to.
What's
We're
the
gonna-
guarantee of that?
It's called the Chinese government.
So it gets you this angry that you call it the
Yes,
Chinese
because
virus. That's
it's getting me
absurd.
angry that your rationale
Go ahead,
makes no
JD.
sense.
Go ahead,
That's
JD.
why it makes me angry.
JD, go ahead.
Your rationale makes no sense.
The only part of this that I agree with Chris on is that the actual name is not the Chinese virus.
The Wuhan virus.
It is it's COVID-19. And so that is a technical name. It is a coronavirus. It's a zoonotonic virus that's transferred, most likely, as far as we know, from a bat to a pangolin to a person. Now, as far as the number of people that are being attacked verbally on the internet right now,
It's not about the number of people. It's one person,
it is.
two
No,
men,
it
right?
is.
One
On
person,
the
two
internet,
men.
Chris. On the internet, Chris, right now, you have more people online digesting content and going on just doing whatever because they're sitting at home than you ever have in history, in American history. But
Yep.
as far as physical confrontation, has that happened to 3 or 4 people? Chris, there's been 23.
3 or 4
There-
in the world. You're
No,
trying
I'm
to tell
saying,
me
I'm saying in
that's all there
America,
is.
in America right now, 5.
Look,
Chris, you've got 23,000 deaths. The numbers aren't
That's
even
not the
remotely
point, JD.
close.
It's about one person is too many if you're using the China. Let me put it this way, okay? If you're using
Well,
the word,
and guess what?
if
One
somebody-
person is too many that have
somebody say,
died
for example-
due to a virus that may or may not have been. And I'm starting to wonder. I really am, based on the fact that we already thought this virus was created not in a lab. We thought it was just kind of an organic thing in a wet market, from a bat to a pangolin to a person. But the fact that we can't look into this now,
Let me add something to that.
that alone
We're getting off the-
makes no, not at all.
we're on the beaten
No.
path.
That alone
Talk
makes.
about using the Chinese virus, calling it the Chinese virus, and people being subjected
Chris,
to
the only person
attacks.
getting off the beaten path is you at
No,
this
I'm
point,
not.
my
I'm
friend.
talking
Yes,
about the
you
same
absolutely
topic.
are.
You're going off on
I agreed with you. I said it is called the COVID-19. It's not called the Chinese virus, but I don't have a problem calling it that for a number of reasons.
Can I add something else, and then I want to take some phone calls?
You guys still haven't
All right,
answered my
hang
question.
on.
What is the benefit? What's the
I
benefit
told you
of
already.
using that phrase?
I told you.
No, but
No,
it's
the
ridiculous.
By the way, it
Chris,
doesn't have,
Chris,
hold on a
the-
second.
the-
It's ridiculous.
It doesn't have to be beneficial to say that
No.
it doesn't have to
Chris,
be beneficial as long as it's accurate.
The benefit.
This started in China.
The benefit is putting the blame where the blame should be
Exactly.
Yes.
for the entire world, not just for the United States. You got to keep in mind right now. If this was a biological weapon made in China, and the fact that they won't let us research it more makes me wonder. I didn't wonder before.
They're guilty.
But now
They're guilty.
I'm really starting to wonder at this
JD,
point.
you don't have to wonder. They're guilty.
No, just listen, Brian. But if that's the case, you've got 100,000 deaths outside of China at this point. You have 1.8 million cases. You'll probably have some.
Culpability of China.
You'll probably
You're
have
not
some.
denying China's government of
So
culpability.
what are you arguing?
I'm arguing that There are other ways you can describe the virus, and that everybody in the world knows, right, at this point, where it came from. You can use Wuhan virus if you want to, because that's a place, okay? You could use a country if it came from a country,
Chris,
right?
Wuhan is a country, is a province in
call it
China.
the Australian virus. If it comes from America, call it the American virus. If it comes from other countries, call it that country. But don't use Chinese, don't use Japanese, don't use Mexican, don't use Latin.
So what do you call it? The China? The China
people,
virus?
It subjected people to verbal
no, it isn't
and
though. No,
physical
Chris, no, it
attacks.
isn't.
And
that number,
Yes, it has.
and
Because
that number
Donald people,
is
AKA
literally
Donald Trump, used it.
0.001%
deny it, that's
compared to
fine,
the people that have
whatever.
actually been affected adversely by this, whether
Yes.
economically
All right.
or from a
let's
death
take
toll
some calls.
perspective.
Okay, so it's
And
beneficial
China,
to use the
and
Chinese
at this
virus. I get it.
point,
Okay.
China
Yeah, makes
needs
sense. Makes
China
total sense.
Doesn't
needs
have to be beneficial.
they need to be
It
held
doesn't
accountable
have to
for
be
the
a reason
fact.
for it. Has to be a reason for it. I mean,
Go
it
ahead,
doesn't
JD.
make any
Finish your
sense.
thought, and then we'll take some
I'm
phone
good.
calls. All right, let's take some phone calls. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Again, 257-5396. I admit that I was wrong. I don't think 2 months ago it was wrong to call it the Chinese virus then. I don't think it's wrong to call it the Chinese virus now. I want those bastards in the government held accountable for holding this virus under the rug. They have blood on their hands. People throughout the world, innocent people, have died because they did not do their due diligence. They were scared more about being blamed for this than saving lives. And now a new story just came out in that study. China is now implementing new restrictions on academic research into the coronavirus.
And why would they do that?
Yeah.
Right now, the entire world thinks that, okay, this virus came from China, but it was an accident.
They know it. The
No,
entire world knows it.
no.
The entire world already knows
Chris,
it.
stop interrupting me, bro. Seriously. You've done it 7 times in the last 10 minutes.
Keep going. Yeah.
Okay.
Go
All
ahead.
right. Thank you. Now, that being said, the fact that the world already knows that, and the world does know that, then why is China restricting more research into what actually took place?
That's a fair question, but it has
They're
nothing to do with
Because
it has nothing to do with calling it the Chinese virus or not.
it may not
Fair question.
it may not have actually been a coronavirus. This thing may actually be a man-made virus in a lab
Very possible.
released on the world as a biological weapon.
JD, that your point is taken, and it could be 100% correct. It still has nothing to do with why we should be calling this the Chinese virus as opposed to COVID-19 or the coronavirus. And I'll make a very simple point to both of you. Okay, why is it that the majority of people out there don't think we should use Chinese virus and think we should use COVID-19 or the coronavirus?
Because
why is that?
Chris,
Why is that?
no
Why
one-
is that?
I'll answer.
Okay.
Because I think there's a lot of left-wing liberals that care more about what we call the virus than actually about getting
That's a
holding
horrendous
Chinese
answer.
responsible.
That's a horrendous
All right,
answer.
well, because you're a liberal.
That's not
702-257-5, because you're one of them.
I'm not a liberal.
702-257-5396
I'm a progressive Democrat.
is the number to call.
difference.
Let's go to Mark. Mark, you're first up on the Vegas take. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, Mark?
Yeah, a couple of things. If we're going to start holding people accountable that have spread diseases, then the United States in the past has to be held accountable for diseases that originated here. So if you want to go through that and start blaming people, where do you stop?
Sure. All right. Let me respond to that. First, it's where do we start? And it started in China. Now, I think there's 2 parts to this, sir.
And who in
I
China
think,
are you going to hold accountable? And
Okay,
how are you going to hold them accountable?
Okay,
What are
well,
you going
first
to
of
do?
Okay, well, first of all,
What can you
that is up to the.
legally do?
Would you like? Okay, I'll answer your question. First of all, that is up to the president of the United States
No, it
and how he decides to handle
This
this.
is
Now,
international.
okay,
Are you
but
saying that he's going to violate the sovereignty of a foreign nation? Then they can
Okay.
violate
So,
our sovereignty. Where does that
I'll try
lead?
I'll try to answer your question to the best of my ability. First of all,
Not
there's
very
2.
good.
Okay, well, that's your opinion. You're not even letting me answer the question. So would you like me to answer it, or would you like to continue to interrupt me and make smart-ass remarks, sir? Which one is it going to be?
Well, you do the smart ass, so go ahead.
Okay, well, okay, thank you. That's very nice of you to allow me to answer your question on our show. Thank you. That's very kind of you, sir. There's 2 aspects
Speaking
to
of
this.
smart.
Number one, okay, get rid of this guy because he won't shut up. Goodbye, buddy. You're going to be a smart ass on this show. Goodbye. But I'm still going to answer your stupid question, okay? There's 2 aspects to this. Number one, where did this originate? Okay, where did the virus start? We know where it started. And then the response. And I'm talking about the United States. The response of Donald Trump and his administration. Those are the 2 things to look at. Now, how do you hold them responsible? Well, there's a lot of things you could do to hold them responsible. First of all, we need a global investigation. It shouldn't just be America that's investigating this. A global investigation. We should also find out why China is implementing these new restrictions. Now, this guy who just called in, it sounds to me, see, this is my problem. I criticize people on the alt-right all the time. I also criticize people like that last caller. They're so far to the left, it sounds to me that they don't even think China should be held accountable for this. I'm so sick of people that are online.
They want to deflect the blame onto the President of the United States.
It should be both.
Just from pure hatred for him.
But I'm specifically talking about China right now.
At this point, it shouldn't be both, and we'll talk about that later.
But I'm specifically talking about China right now. I don't want to talk about the president right now. The bottom line is the people in the Chinese government, those bastards in the government, have put this underneath the rug. They have blood on their hands, and I want those scumbags to be held responsible. Put them all in jail.
It's not just blood; it's economic damage. And as far as violating the sovereignty of the country, isn't that exactly what just happened here? When we have 500,000 plus cases in every single state spread out throughout the United States, as well as our New York City is now the epicenter of the virus on the planet.
Can I just say something else?
You just passed 10,000 deaths today.
This is why a lot of people out there don't like liberals. You got this last guy. How are you going to hold them responsible? You know what? My friend's mother just died. Okay, I want the people responsible held to accountability. And if you want to call up and you want to say, "Oh, how can we do that? How can we hold the Chinese government responsible?" There's a way, my friend.
And I'll give you a couple of ways. We could just take some countries that have businesses that run through China. We'll remove those. We will erase our debt. There could be an international lawsuit, like a class action lawsuit of sorts. And honestly, if this is a biological man-made weapon, there could be war. That could absolutely take place.
I think JD just answered a major portion of that caller's
absolutely.
question right
there
are
JD
ways. Pointed it out. I think you're kind of going after him a little strong, Brian, because I think he did have a point to his take as far as his call.
No, that was a 100% gotcha call, and he's called 4 or 5 times in the same mode.
He did pose the question though: what are we going to do about it as far as China, right? As far as making them deal with their responsibility.
Let's try to get to some more. Let's try. Oh, he was being condescending and he was being a snooty liberal. That's exactly what he was doing. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Janice. Janice, you're next on the Vegas Take. What's up?
Hey, what's up, Janice?
Hey, Brian. You know what? You got it right, man. It's China virus, like Trump will say China.
If you want to call it China virus, that's fine. That means it's a country. That's not Chinese people. That's not Asian people.
I want you to ask Chris a question. When Hillary said that all black people look alike, how come the left didn't go crazy for that racism remark?
When did she say that?
Did she say that? And if she did, I would criticize her absolutely for that. As a Democrat, I would criticize her if she said that.
Do you have?
She did say that.
Well, it's ridiculous.
What do you think about that, Chris?
I think she shouldn't have said it. I think I didn't hear her say that, by the way. But if she did say that, I would absolutely criticize her for it.
You didn't care, and then Brian.
Hold on.
What do you mean I didn't care?
Hold on,
I
Chris,
just told you
Chris,
I didn't
let
hear
me
her say
respond.
that.
Okay, Chris, calm down. Take a deep breath. Janice,
Brian
first of all,
got it right.
Okay, but hold on, Janice. To defend Chris here, I have never heard that statement that you claimed that Hillary Clinton made. Okay, well, I didn't hear it. You could say it's true, but find me the quote and go ahead, email it to me. What is it? Show at thevegastake.com?
If I'm not mistaken.
Okay, but number two, hold on, let me finish.
On a radio
okay,
show, by the way.
Janice, number two. Okay, and by the way, just because you hear something on a radio show doesn't necessarily mean it's true. We try to be factual. But number two, in a pandemic, when you have over 20,000 people that are dead in this country, what do you care about what Hillary Clinton said 2 or 3 years ago? That's what's on your top priority list right now, Janice?
What Chris said, that it's racist, you shouldn't say this about the Chinese.
I didn't say it racist. I didn't say it's racist. I've never used that word racist.
Well, people have called me a racist, Janice.
I'm talking about it has a negative effect.
You got it right.
No, my only argument is this to the caller.
People shouldn't call you a racist.
I appreciate that. Well, I appreciate that, Janice. And but here's my advice to you, Janice, before we let you go. And by the way, I do appreciate your call. Don't worry about what Hillary Clinton said. Let's worry about what's going on right now.
That's my point.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Janice, I appreciate your call.
They didn't worry about it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I hear you, Janice, and I appreciate your call.
Good call, Janice.
257-5396. Do you think it's fair to call this the Chinese?
Well, right now, Chris is saying that it's okay to call it the China virus because it originated there. But you're saying that calling it the Chinese virus is oppressive to people who are of Chinese descent who live all over the country, right?
JD, it's not oppressive. Brian brought it up. Okay, there are a lot of idiots and morons out there.
To me, China and Chinese is the exact same thing.
This is what they do, JD and Brian.
I don't
Brian
see the difference
JD,
there.
This is what they do.
So you're arguing about something very very, very minimal.
Can I explain the difference?
That honestly
okay?
is
I'll
probably
explain the
priority
difference to you.
30 compared to people actually dying and
I'll explain
what's
the difference
happened
to you.
because of this virus.
I'll explain the difference.
I agree
as,
with you.
well as the Chinese cover-up, which has been unbelievable.
Brian brought it up.
Top to bottom.
That there are morons and idiots out there that are going to take steps, okay, if they hear that, okay? There are idiots out there that hear Chinese and they think of Asian people, okay? They hear Chinese and they think of Asian people. Think of it this way. If you hear the American virus, right, or you hear the Australian virus, you're not going to go after people or verbally.
And here's my take on that.
Let me finish for a second?
Go ahead.
I'm going to make the point.
Go ahead.
Because it's a very good point. If it's called
debatable.
Well, how's it debatable? If
Go
it's
ahead.
called the Australian virus or the American virus, you're not going to be able to pinpoint people, right, based on them being American or Australian. You can't tell.
All right.
But you can sure as hell tell, okay, when people are Asian or not. And people are being subjected to verbal and physical attacks because the word Chinese is used by the President of the United States or people in power, okay? You guys say it doesn't happen. I'm
Chris,
telling you it does happen.
let's say that.
And so it's detrimental. So why do we have to use it? Use COVID-19 or use
Chris,
coronavirus.
it isn't,
you don't have to use Chinese virus.
It isn't even remotely as detrimental as what has happened because of the virus itself. Now, let's say hypothetically that in the United States,
not making that argument.
in Louisiana,
Who's making that argument?
someone was eating 2-year-old shrimp. I mean, totally disgusting, filthy shrimp. And that shrimp started and somehow a zoonotonic, connection happened where the shrimp gave a person a virus, and that virus spread throughout the world. Would you have a problem with that virus being called the American virus?
By the way,
because I would not.
They're serving that shrimp, or in other terms, bats. Bats
No,
are now
I
being
don't,
served
JD,
in China.
I just told you I don't have a problem with anybody using a country's name in the virus. If it was the American virus, call it the American virus. If it's an Australian virus, call it the Australian virus. I'm talking specifically about the word Chinese as opposed to Chinese people. There are dumb
Honestly,
people out
Chris,
there
this is an
that say,
insane
"Oh,
argument.
Chinese means they're Asian people," and so they're subjected to.
All right.
I don't
Let me
understand how
just
you
say
guys
this.
can't
Let me just-
comprehend
okay, listen.
what I'm trying to say here.
There may be a collective, we'll call it, 20,000 people online that are speaking negatively
squeeze in
about
one
Chinese
more
people,
call.
and there
It's
could
not
be
really
and there
about the
could be
number.
between
I got it.
5 and 10 people in the United States that
There's
have
a
actually
lot of-
attacked someone for being Chinese because of that term.
There's a lot of people waiting on hold. I gotta get to
in
one more
comparison,
call.
you have 600,000 cases in the United States. You
All
have
right.
23,000 deaths. You have
We're not
117,000 deaths
comparing them now? We're
internationally.
comparing
You-
it?
and the entire country is locked down. It's not even the same
Well, no,
universe,
you're making a
Chris.
comparison that
Sorry,
doesn't
Brian. Let's go to
matter.
call.
It's not a comparison that should be made. I don't know why you're making the comparison.
No, we don't have time to go to calls now, so I apologize. Everyone that is on hold right now, I'm not going to take a call with a minute before break. I want to give our listeners a little more respect than that. So when we go to break, I promise you on the other side of the break, Chris is going to take a couple deep breaths. We're about to see the Chris Wynn virus, which is going to be a heart attack here in a second. So we're going to take a break, and I promise you, when we come back, we will take all those calls, all those people that are waiting on hold. Number, by the way, if you want to be a part of the conversation, is 702-257-5396. Again, that number, 257-5396. If you're just joining us, well, you've missed a lot. I said a few months ago that I made a mistake of, people that call it the Chinese virus as racist. I was wrong in doing that. I think it is the Chinese virus. I think the Chinese government needs to be held responsible. I believe those in China that may have done this on purpose or not, could they have used it as a biological weapon? I'm not going to say yes or no, but everything is on the table. And now we have the Chinese government that's implementing these new restrictions, not allowing academic research into the coronavirus origins. That's like if somebody went out there and killed and murdered 20 or 30 people, and then a judge said, nope, you can't investigate it. Let him go. That's exactly what the Chinese government is doing. You're damn right I'm going to call it the Chinese virus, and I am not going to feel bad. And watch what I say, because there might be a few nut jobs in this country that are going to hurt somebody because I call it the Chinese virus. That's absurd. We got to take a break. And when we come back,
I'm going to call it China
we come back,
virus.
we will take your other calls on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Vegas Take right here on 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN. Welcome back. It is the Vegas Take Sharp and Shapiro. We got Chris Wynn in studio. We're all fired up, and we're taking your calls at 257-5396. Look, as you know, I attack the alt-right all the time, especially the Nimrods who that's what I'm going to call them, those who were in churches in the hundreds throughout the country. Yeah, I think there's something wrong with you, and I think you're selfish, and I think you're ignorant. I'm going to say the same thing about some of these liberals way on the left. Those who will get up in arms and all day be all upset about it because somebody called this virus the Chinese virus. I am just as upset at those snowflake liberals on the left as I am at the alt-right and those putting our lives in jeopardy. I'm sorry, I just am. I'm just going to call it for what it is, and we're taking your phone calls. 702-257-5396. Obviously, we disagree with each other a little bit here, at least Chris Wynn does with myself and J.D. Sharp. I have no problem now calling it the Chinese virus. I was wrong a couple months ago, and I have no problem in admitting that. So let's take some phone calls, as I promised you we would. Let's go to Bill, who's been waiting patiently on hold. Bill, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, Bill?
Hey, guys.
What's up?
So I was just calling to weigh in on the church thing. Am I too late for that?
Quickly, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, first of all, everyone who is going to church, I agree with you. That's moronic, and people shouldn't be gathering. But the problem I had with it was the Constitution doesn't provide rights to the people of the United States. It restricts the government, which means the government can't tell the people they can't assemble and or go to church or practice religion in the way they deem fit. So that's kind of where my issue with it is. Do you think that governors can supersede the Constitution?
I think in specific situations where we have unique situations like this one, where we have a pandemic, I have no problem with it. When was the Constitution written?
Which we haven't ever had. Well, we have since 1918 Spanish flu.
Exactly. A lot has happened since 1918. I think any reasonable human being would say what Governor Sisolak did, and people are attacking Sisolak left and right, which I think is absurd. It's not political. I believe Steve Sisolak is doing what he believes is right to the health and the good of the people, not just in Las Vegas, but in the state of Nevada. And you got all these right-wing lunatics that are attacking him for, in my opinion, you don't have to agree with everything he does. But the bottom line is Sisolak has put these laws in place because he wants lives to be saved.
I agreed with his first restrictions. His latest restrictions were a bit over the top. I sincerely hope he doesn't release any prisoners as well from worrying about COVID. And I really hope that he doesn't pull a Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan and ban all friends visiting other friends, visitors between houses.
There's a reason for that.
I hope that doesn't. Chris, that is one of the stupidest things I've ever seen.
Absolutely not.
Politically, I mean, how could you say?
I'll tell you the reason why.
What is the reason, Chris?
And by the way, there's probably going to be a number of governors that are going to follow
that
suit.
are going to ban going to your friend's house.
It's not the person. She's not doing it to be restrictive as if she's some dictator that's taken. She's doing it for the safety of her constituents, safety of the people. The reason why is because you don't want people traveling. You don't want people unnecessarily traveling around the state, going to establishments in mass if they have multiple places to live. There's a reason behind it. JD, ask yourself the reason. Why would she do it? What is the reason she's doing it, JD? Ask yourself that question.
All right. Well,
why do you think she's doing it?
Obviously, it's for mitigation efforts, Chris, but this is very over the top. That being said, it's basically, I mean, it is unenforceable. How do you enforce that? You can't. You cannot enforce someone going from their house to their friend's house, Chris.
Well,
can I just say something?
I could get on board with that.
Hold on.
You literally
but
can't do that.
it doesn't mean it's not the right thing to do.
I will also say it's almost impossible to enforce. Last night, 20 people for going to an Easter dinner. It doesn't mean that Steve Sisolak is wrong.
Yes.
But it's also very difficult to enforce. Let's get back to your phone calls, the busy phone calls, 702-257-5396. Let's go to Susie. Susie, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's going on?
What's up, Susie?
Hi, Susie. Oh, hi. How are you?
Good, but I'm not Susie. I'm Brian, but that's okay.
I know. I'm sorry. I was so excited. I said Susie.
Hey, if you called him Susie the entire conversation, it would make me very happy, Brian.
Well, my ex-girlfriend used to call me Susie.
It would make me very happy, Brian.
That's another story for another show. Go ahead, Susie. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Go ahead. What I want to say is this. First of all, I'll tell you I'm conservative, and I have no argument with any of you, but I will say one thing. You have made me realize there will never be a one world order or a new world order. You have accomplished that.
Okay. Is that
okay?
Can you elaborate on that, please?
Yeah, give us a little elaboration.
What do you think it means?
Well, why don't you tell us what it means?
Okay,
I want to hear it from you.
One world order is where we get all the people in the world together and we all agree on things.
No, that's not what I mean. I mean, can you explain why, based on what we've had, the conversation that we've had, why you now think that? That's what I meant.
Okay. It's not what you're saying in your conversations. It's how you're arguing. In other words, you're arguing back and forth. I don't mind it. I love listening to you. But you're arguing back and forth. You totally have different opinions of things. So therefore, will we ever have a one world order?
Well, of course not.
I suspect we won't.
Well, of course not. Of course not.
Reasonable conclusion.
I agree with you. And my response, 2 words, Republican and Why don't we just start right there? That's the reason why a lot of stuff doesn't get done in this country alone. But I agree with what you're saying. Obviously, I don't think anybody would disagree with you. How could everyone in the world agree on things when people kill each other just based on different religion? Let's get back to the phone calls. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. I believe Chuck is next. Chuck, go ahead.
What's up, Chuck?
Yeah, hey, guys. 4 quick points. Like Mike, the first caller, I wanted to hear what he had to say, Brian. You cut him off, and then the gal a couple later, you let her ramble on because she was bashing the churchgoers. And then
which caller?
I'm sorry.
Which caller are you? I mean, I don't know. We took about 100 calls in the first hour.
Caller.
The very first caller that said that he liked listening to me and Mr. X.
Okay, so here's why I cut him off.
We want to hear what they have to say.
Okay, no problem. Here's what he had to say, and here's why I cut him off. He made the statement that he has absolutely no problem with hundreds of people gathering in a church today. Now, I don't need his reasoning behind that. You know why? Because there is no reason for it. You cannot defend it. Now, if you want to say that 10 people or maybe 20 or 30 people with social distancing, fine, I'll listen to you. But that's not what that caller said. He called up and he said he's okay with hundreds of people gathering in churches throughout the country. Let me ask you a question. If you did a radio show and I called into your show, sir, and I said, I have no problem with people getting into a car drunk and driving in your community, would you want to hear me out?
I want to hear what everybody is calling. They're calling in, taking their time.
Okay, that's not what I asked you. If I called into your show and I said there's nothing wrong with drunk driving, I have no problem with hundreds of people getting on the roads in Las Vegas and driving drunk, would you give me ample airtime and you would want to hear me out? It's a yes or no question.
Yeah, I want to hear everybody.
Okay, well that's ridiculous because it's indefensible. You're being ridiculous. Are you serious? You're saying if you did a radio show, I guess that's why you're not in radio. With all due respect, sir.
No,
no, apparently not. Well, let me give you an idea. When somebody says something that is offensive and indefensible, I don't give them a platform. There are other radio shows, not just in Vegas but throughout the country, that will give somebody that platform. That is not what we do. If you say something dumb, ignorant, and foolish and dangerous, I am going to hang up on you. That's what we do.
Which also gives us the opportunity to get through a lot more callers because that tends to happen probably 25% of the time.
Why would I give someone a platform like that, sir? All right, I got to get to some other callers, but with all due respect, why would I give somebody a platform like that? It just makes absolutely no sense. Okay, so he thinks that hundreds of people should gather in churches throughout the country. Oh, sir, that's a great take. Let's get your opinion on that. I can't wait to hear it. No, I'm going to get to the other good listeners and callers that actually have a brain. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Again, 257-5396. Let's go to Clyde. Can you believe it? If that guy had a radio show, he would listen to – oh, God, it's crazy. I'm sorry, Clyde. Go ahead.
Hey, Clyde.
Okay, very good show, Brian. One very important thing. I called Friday, and if you mentioned, I mentioned about when the golf expert was on, he said about private clubs being exempted. And then I made a statement, and you said, no, I read it wrong. I want to show you my objectivity. I said, okay, then I retract. I went back to the newspaper. Brian, here's what it says. Friday, which was the day I called Friday the 10th. Let me read it.
Okay.
Governor Steve Sisolak ordered the closure of golf courses, churches, and other public affairs of the news. That's page 1. Page 7A. Governor Sivak's office emphasized that private clubs You said I was wrong.
Okay, so Clyde, so let me respond. Okay, so Clyde, let me respond to you. Even though we've lost half our listeners, I'll still respond. So here's the thing. The article that we read said that he was closing public golf courses. Now, there are still some private golf courses that are open in Las Vegas. I'm not going to mention their names because, quite frankly, I think it's disgusting and they don't deserve to be open if the public golf courses are closed. But my opinion is the same. If you're going to close public golf courses, all golf courses could be closed. I think the language in what Steve Sisolak said maybe could have been a little bit better, and I have criticized Sisolak for that. I hope that answers your question.
And here's how you know that private clubs are closed. O.J. Simpson was on Twitter yesterday hitting a ball into a net next to his golf course.
You know what I wish people would do? I wish O.J. Simpson would be in front of that net, and I wish the Goldman family could hit balls against him. That's what I wish. 702-257-5396. I'm serious. put O.J. Simpson in front of a net and let the Goldman family and the Cole Brown Simpson family take out a driver and hit it as hard as you can. Let Tiger Woods belt balls right at his chest.
I'll tell you, he was having a tough time getting around, too. He was having a tough time walking.
OJ.
He's definitely getting older.
Yeah, you sound like Johnny Cochran. There's no way he could have committed that murder. He wasn't in good enough physical condition. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to Seth. Seth, you're next up on the Vegas Take. What's up?
Hey, what's up, Seth?
What's going on? So your liberal friend said something earlier today, said the majority of people are against calling it the China virus. So did he interview 300 million plus Americans to find that statistic out? Like, how did he come to that conclusion?
No. You can just basically just be a human being that's existing in America right now. And by the way, I'm not liberal. I'm a progressive Democrat. But that's neither here nor there. But so you're trying to tell me? No, let me ask you a question.
Did you listen to Bill Maher's segment?
All right, I absolutely saw it, yes, and I disagree with Bill. I disagree with Bill on that. I think he's wrong on that. But let me pose this question to you. So do you think there is the majority of Americans out there that are saying, you know what, we should call this the Chinese virus as opposed to calling it COVID-19 or coronavirus?
I'm not the one making absolute statements. You made an absolute statement.
No, yeah, because and I believe that. I think that's true. Yes, I believe that's true. That the majority.
Don't say that don't say that as a matter of fact. Say I believe the majority. Don't say it as a matter of fact. The news says this all the time. You can No. All right, let me ask you the question. So you think it's a fact then that more people in this country believe that we should be calling it the Chinese virus as opposed to COVID-19 or the coronavirus?
I do.
Is that what you believe?
I definitely do.
I never made an absolute statement. That's the point I'm trying to make.
I'm asking you the question. I know you asked me the question. I answered your question. Okay, now I'm asking you a question, and you're not giving me an answer.
I speak for myself. I don't care if we call it China virus. We don't change other viruses' names because
All right,
they're offended.
I don't care whether or not you think whether or not you want to say it or not. I'm asking you a question. Do you think the majority of Americans want to call it the Chinese virus as opposed to the other two names that you can use?
Right, hold on, Chris.
It's a simple question.
Chris,
I don't know why the question is so hard.
I think the majority would not be offended by it. Yes.
I tend to agree.
I would like to spend at least 45 more minutes on this.
All right, Chris, go in the Wuhan corner and take a break for a second.
Call it the Wuhan virus. Call it the China virus. Call it COVID-19 or call it coronavirus.
Seth, you're still on the line, Seth. Let me ask you a question, Seth, if I may. I was wrong a few months ago, and I've said that. I criticized people who called it the Chinese virus, and now
You criticized me for calling it the Chinese virus.
And unlike other people, like the President of the United States, I can admit when I'm wrong, and I believe I was wrong. So, Seth, do you agree with me? This started in China. The Chinese government has blood on their hands, whether this was done on purpose or not. I am not going to watch what I say, because there might be a few lunatics in this country.
Hold on, let me finish. What I say.
I am not going to. If I can finish my statement, get back in the Wuhan corner. I want to finish. I want to be able to say what I say and not have to worry about a couple lunatics in this country that might lose their mind. Do you agree with my take on that, Seth?
I agree, and I think no normal person would have thought it was racist until somebody decided to create that narrative and then push it, and then go, oh, yeah, maybe it is racist.
Well, here's why I said that.
The reason I say it is because people are apparently getting verbally or physically attacked out there, and if there's a reason for it, if it ever points to any person of prominence calling it the Chinese virus, then that's just wrong. I'm sorry, that's my take, and I'm right and you're wrong.
Seth,
right,
Seth, you haven't called in about a year. Where'd you go, man?
Well, he just went. So that got him very upset, that question. 702, thank you for the call, Seth. 702-257-5396 is the number to call.
But I agree with JD. We've been talking about this too much.
Let's go to Taylor. Yes. Taylor, you're next on the Vegas Take.
What's up, Taylor?
Hey, thank you guys for taking my call. I appreciate you picking up.
Sure. What's on your mind, Taylor?
I just wanted to add a comment, and please don't hang up on me, because I know sometimes you guys do that if we're quote unquote crazies. So I'm a police officer here in Las Vegas, and I wanted to comment on your statement. You said that people assembling at these churches that there's no argument for it. So my personal church has canceled all the meetings, and everything has been televised. So I'm with you on the fact that I think you should not be meeting, okay? I believe you should not be meeting in those groups of 400 or 500. That being said, the right for those people, as dumb as they are, to meet, we cannot forget that right supersedes everything else. So yes,
Disagree.
Stupid.
Wait a
Yes,
second. You're a police officer. Hold on a second. Taylor, I'm not hanging up on you. And by the way, thank you for your service as a police officer. Taylor, let me ask you this. You're a cop. So what a perfect person to ask this to. There are ordinances and laws that are put in place in this city and in the state right now. So why is it then that police officers can not only cite people, but if you continue to disobey, you can be arrested? So why is that then?
Man, I'm going to tell you right now, that does not sit well with me.
Well, it might not sit well with you, but it's still the law.
Let me. Obviously, I haven't told you what police department I belong to because we can get in trouble for that kind of stuff. But I'll tell you, me personally, I don't think we should be doing this. I do not think that.
I get your point, and listen, I get your opinion. And I get your point, but my question still stands. You can have that opinion. I could have an opinion as a citizen. You know what? I should be able to drive 110 miles an hour. I disagree with the law, but it doesn't mean I'm going to go out there and drive 110 miles an hour, does it?
It's not just the law. It's the law of the country, and a state can't pass a directive that supersedes that law under any circumstances, and that's what he's saying.
Go ahead, sir.
No, go ahead. Ask your question again, and I'll try my best to answer it.
Well, there are laws that are put in place in extenuating circumstances. I think we all agree this is a very extenuating circumstance. And what Steve Sisolak is saying is, no, you can't have those large gatherings in churches. Now, you might disagree with it. Right. Tough cookies. Because the reason for that, and I think any logical person, in my opinion, would agree, that you're putting people in harm's way. And I know you sort of agree with me on that.
No, I totally agree with you, but let me ask this question to kind of answer that question. Do you think that Steve Sisolak's law and ordinance supersedes the very, very fundamental Constitution?
Of course not. No, there's no way.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the end of your question.
It doesn't.
Go ahead.
Does Steve Sisolak's ordinances and mandates and emergency orders, does that supersede the very founding First Amendment?
Well, here's the way I'll respond to your First Amendment statement. The people who wrote the First Amendment also were unaware of this type of situation, and it's kind of like saying, when you talk about the Second Amendment, because we have the right to bear arms, does that mean we have the right to have bazookas? And do we have the right to own tankers? Of course not. There has to be some logic when it comes to the First and Second Amendment. This is something we've never faced before, and you cannot tell me with a straight face that the governor is doing this just because he wants to be a pain in the ass. He wants to save lives.
He wants to live, and he wants to open back up.
I think in his mind, and I don't agree with him much, but I think on his mind he's doing the right thing for the right reasons. But that aside, those people who go to those churches and assemble, I don't agree with them doing that. But that right that they have,
it exists.
And this sounds bad to say, that supersedes even every decision they make. They have that right.
Use the word supersede, though, that's wrong.
No, it's not wrong, Chris. The Constitution is the law of
freedom of religion.
Is the law of the country. And a directive passed in a state cannot supersede.
So let me ask
that.
you.
I got to tell you though, Brian made a great analogy though.
No, the question is, you're right. It's finding a compromise between logic under the circumstances and the Constitution, which is a very, very interesting dynamic.
He just said something that is completely not factually accurate. Sir, with all due respect, you said the right to assemble. If you're on a crime scene or a murder scene, you tape something off because you have your reasons to do so. I can't assemble even though it's a public sidewalk. So your argument makes absolutely no sense at all. This right to assemble. No. There are certain places where you cannot strike. You know why? Because there are reasons put forth. So while you're right, you can assemble. In these situations, look at it as an entire investigation throughout the country. Look at it as an entire investigation with police tape throughout the world. There are stuff put in place. There are reasons why they have been put in place. You cannot assemble like the way you're saying because it can hurt people.
That interpretation of what is safety, okay, is made on a small scene. So, like, let's say we have a shooting scene, okay? And I say, hey, folks, you have to get back because it's an active shooting scene, right? That's for their safety, right? That's my interpretation because that's locally, that's at that scene. Now,
that's the governor's interpretation then. The governor's interpreting that we need to be safe.
If you're talking about the President of the United States or the governor talking about this as a crime scene, doing this for our safety, that's his interpretation. So if you take away that First Amendment right, it's up to that person to determine it for the whole country. And it's not for us to determine. It was determined by our founders. So,
all right, so let me just say one more thing here. Let me just add one more thing. It is at your position as a police officer that you are okay with citizens defying the orders of the governor and the president of the United States. As a police officer, is that your stance?
I raise my hand, and I protect and defend the Constitution of the United States.
Okay, I'll take that as a yes. All right, I appreciate the phone call. Thank you.
A quick note, too, Brian.
Very, very good call.
You made an analogy at the beginning of that call, and you're dead on, but you left out one part about him. He is a police officer, right, who's saying, hey, you know what? I can speed 100 miles an hour on the freeway, even though it's a law that you're not supposed to. And I'm a police officer, and I'm saying that I don't believe in that law. That's exactly what that caller just did. It makes no sense.
What's being applied here with not being able to assemble? Obviously, considering the circumstances, logic would dictate that you shouldn't be able to do it. Can you still do it according to the Constitution? There hasn't been any emergency amendment instituted at all. Yes, you can.
Well, you'll get cited or arrested.
But that being said, you look at how the states are getting the opportunity to open up their economies, how the states are getting the opportunity to, because that's what the Constitution does. Every single state is sovereign. Every single state makes their own decisions.
By that logic,
as far as that goes, with opening up the economy or doing a JD, shutdown order.
By that
so you've got it going on from both sides.
JD, by that logic, every non-essential business should be allowed to open today. By that logic, it doesn't make any sense.
No, that came down from
who?
The president. Brian.
So the president is doing the same thing that a lot of these governors are doing. He's the one putting the advice in place, and he is the one who's talking about social distancing. The governors, in a sense, are following his lead in some examples. 702-257-5396 is the number to call. Why don't we go to Carl? Carl, you're next on the Vegas Take. Go ahead.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah, guys, listen, this is for Chris. Before I give you my point, I hear him use the term intellectually honest quite a bit. Well, there's
Absolutely.
a nighttime host you have on your show who uses it 100 times a night, and he's neither intelligent or honest. So I wish he'd stop using that intellectually honest term. It's ridiculous. Anyway.
Well, we thank you for your insight. We do our own show. We don't really necessarily focus or talk about other hosts. Yeah, that are on our network. But
what I'm really calling about is I've tried to get on a long time ago about the number of people in churches. I was in the medical field, like you know. And the thing is, people don't understand. It has nothing to do with religion. You get all these people together in a church or one area right now. One person goes in who has the virus. He gives it to 2 or 3 others. Exponentially, those 2 or 3 give it to 3 or 4 others each. They go to their homes. They give it to their families. They give it. I mean, it's utterly ridiculous.
So you agree with me? Yeah, I agree.
Of course. Look, God created man, like you want to get religious, and gave him a brain. And the man's brain is used. There are scientific people and doctors who use their brains and came up with these theories. And there's a reason for it. These are just
I know, Carl. Listen, Carl, it's basic logic, and listen, you and I agree. There's no question about it. Carl, I appreciate the call, and thank you for waiting.
No more intellectually honest, though, please. Okay.
Let's be intellectually honest. We have the highest-rated talk show in all of Las Vegas in any time slot.
It's all intellectual these days. That's how we break it down.
All right, so listen, we're going to take a break, but when we come back, this is something we have not discussed. Dr. Fauci, in a way, you could make the argument, is blasting Donald Trump on CNN. He was on with Jake Tapper. What is going to be the result of this? Well, there is a tweet put out by Donald Trump with the hashtag #FireFauci. So is it a matter of time now before Donald Trump fires Dr. Fauci? We're going to discuss that coming up, and you're not going to believe what a Fox News contributor said this morning comparing the coronavirus outbreak to the flu. So we're going to play all of that and much, much more after the news. And, of course, we'll get to your phone calls as well. That number is 702-257-5396. Again, that number, if you do want to be a part of the conversation, 702-257-5396. And a big treat coming up at the bottom of the hour, we're going to speak to one of the most prized Olympians of all time, American Olympians of all time. Her name is Shannon Miller, and we're going to talk to her how she feels about the Olympics being postponed, that and much, much more. We'll take a quick break. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to the Vegas Take on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDAWN.